Hi everyone, it's Kim. Thanks for joining me. The past few weeks we've looked at a number of new collections, and now it's time to mix those up and add in some things from our own stash. So I wanted to start with one new die that I'm adding in pieces that we've looked at before or things from my stash, and that is a crayon box with crayon dies from Hero Arts. So let me show you this and then we'll look at the pieces that I used to make it. So this really isn't a card. I'm going to use this in my craft room, but I've got my box of crayons. When I open it up, I've got those great hands holding the crayons. And then I have a sentiment from my stash that I've had for years. Artists are just children who refuse to put down their crayons. I thought this was a perfect time to use that quote. So to make this, the new die is from Hero Arts. And this is called Box of Crayons. So I've got my crayon box and 3 different styles of crayons. Easy to create that. And then for my background, I used the Better Press plate from the Jack of All Trades collection from J.C. Gaspard. This is called Deluxe Decks. Remember, if you aren't into letterpress, but you like to glimmer, you can use the letterpress plates and you could foil this rather than letterpress it. And then on the inside, I have those wonderful hands that I keep using to hold the crayons. This die is again from Spellbinders called Heart Hands. And then finally, my sentiment or my quote is from a stamp I've had for years called Artist from Creative Expressions. So again, I like to pull things out maybe I haven't used before when the pieces all kind of just fall into place to use them. Now, I love a new box of crayons, and I wanted to continue playing with this. And when I think of crayons, I often think of kids. So I thought, I'm going to pull out that new Paper People die from Karen Burniston and try to make them look more like kids rather than adults. And basically, it's the same process. I think the crayons are what maybe make them look more like kids. I did add some glasses in. I just love those glasses, so I pulled those out from the Tiny Accessories one set, 2 of the different styles of glasses, and then just had fun playing with their hair. I made some pink hair, and maybe their outfits kind of more in the style that kids would wear. The other thing I tried to do is make it look like this gal was sitting down on her crayon rather than standing. So hopefully I was successful in that. But again, just a way to play and have fun. I don't really have a purpose for this card. A lot of times I'll make a card and then I'll just not put a sentiment on it. And then when I need something for a specific occasion, I can pull it out and just put a sentiment on it. This was also this gal. I wanted just to play with her and some of the pieces in this set. I was playing with her hairdo. And basically, what I did on this is this top piece that goes around her head, that is from a beard. So if I flip this over, it's this piece for the beard, and you can see that has that little piece hanging down. I just trim that off. And then for her bangs, I cut a couple of these mustaches. So I used this one here, and I needed to cut a couple and just kind of layer them over each other just so it would go across her forehead. Then for her ponytail or pigtail, normally we would use this die. This is what I have used in the past, and that's what's on the packaging. But I'm using the back side of this for this little pigtail. So here's the die we would use for the pigtails. This is the one that the pink hair has. We see this part of it. And then the brunette has this part of the pigtail. So again, I just wanted to play. What else could I do as far as hairstyles and clothing? And I just put her on there with a crayon I had left over and the thought of you today. My background is a black and white print, just paper. And I just colored in with a marker similar to this color just to kind of hopefully tie it all together. So this one really came out pretty good for just using leftover bits and playing with a different hairstyle. Okay. Oh, and the sentiment for this one is from Creative Expressions, Thought of You Today. Then I had a package of Winnie the Pooh cards. I've had these for quite a while. They're flashcards, and when that new Winnie the Pooh dice set collection came out from Spellbinders, I knew that I was going to use these cards. So let me show you the card. The inside is mechanical, but if you're not into mechanical cards or pop-up cards, you could still make a beautiful card just using the outside of this. So I've got Pooh and Tigger, the bees, and then when I open it up, I have the House of Cards, and that is what I used my flashcards for. Now, I only had 18 designs, I think, separate designs on this, and I needed 20 pieces facing out. So I was able to take, like on Eeyore here, that's one card. I was able to take and just strategically die cut it out so his head was on one part and his tail on the other. And then the other thing I did is I used one of the words just because I didn't have enough cards. And on another one, I believe it's this one, Piglet was laying on Pooh's lap. So on one card I have Piglet, and then I strategically cut out Pooh, which I'm going to guess is maybe this card right here, so that I could get at least 20 cards facing out. Then I also put Pooh and all his friends. I just used the head of the dies to decorate the top of that. I had room to do that because I didn't add on a third layer. And then the inside, I just used the dies from the collection. So let me show you what I used for that. For Pooh, we used Pooh and Piglet, and then also the Tigger and Eeyore set for the outside. And then the bees come from Pooh's honey pot. And then I did pull out an old die from my stash for the tree. We've looked at this before. This is the Grand Willow tree from Memory Box. I just love that tree and pull it out whenever I can to use it. Again, you have probably trees in your stash. Pull out a tree that you like. For the inside, I used all of the same dies for Piglet. The balloon and the honey pot all come in one set. And then there is the big honey pot. And then the friend is die cut from one of the cards. Now, one thing when I started using this House of Cards pop-up die from Karen Berniston, when I first used it several times, I just cut them out and I used what I had, front or back or whatever. And I finally decided there has got to be a way to do this so that I can have all of my front sides facing out and not where, okay, well, now I find out that in order to make my box work, I have to flip this card around. So let me show you really quickly what I discovered. I've kind of done this over 2 sessions, but a while back, I pulled this die out. And truly, it was just playing around and experimentation to figure this out. So I finally figured out that the two opposing sides are the ones that you connect together to make a box. So I marked mine X and O. You can mark it whatever you want, but I need 2 of these X's plus 2 of these X's to make a box. Or I can use 2 O's and 2 O's to make a box. It doesn't matter which box, but you need to have 4 pieces, and these have to stay together, and these have to stay together. So I made myself a note here that I keep in the die. I can only use the X's together and only the O's together to get the same side facing out on each box. And then that way I'm not like, oh, okay, well now I have to use the inside of the paper or the back side. So there's my O's, there's my X's. Then I took it a step further for this one because I also thought, I need to be able to line up, say Eeyore. I need a way to know that I can do this without struggling and just guessing. So the next thing that I created for myself was this little box, and this folds up, and let's see here. Let me put the bottom in. I will keep this in my die set as well. And it will fold up, and I'll just keep this in because now on the bottom I have all X boxes and then all O boxes. So I've determined that if I want to have something like this where I have everything facing out, I need to combine all my X boxes together. They need to be each other's neighbor. I can put whatever on top. I can put an O set of boxes or an X set of boxes. It doesn't matter. But all my O boxes need to stay together and all my X boxes need to be like strung together. What happens if I want to put an O here? So I have an O box here, X's on the bottom, and this will be hard to see, so you're going to have to just take my word for it. But I cannot connect these two boxes together the way the slots are. They will not connect together this way. So that's why I have to have O boxes together and X boxes together. Now, if I wanted to connect this O to an X, I can do that, but it's off on the side over here. And so then I would have to lose one of these cards. It doesn't matter which one, but I can connect it that way. But then you can see that that kind of goes off to the side. So I'm not looking at that as like, oh, that's wrong. I'm looking at that as, oh, there's another opportunity. I'm going to play with that idea in the future because I can still collapse all of these. Now, it'll probably give me a different card size, but there again is another opportunity to change the look of my house of cards. So again, I'll keep all this because, if I don't do it all the time, I do forget. But if you want to do something where you have all of your outside, the right side of your paper or cards or whatever you're using, have all X's or O's in your boxes. And then that way you aren't getting the back side of something and trying to put it together. Because I, again, only had so many cards and I couldn't really risk not cutting it outright. Let's just put it that way. So when I got done with Pooh, I thought, oh, I'm going to go to that Jack of all trades. And this is another dice that I wanted to use with the House of Cards pop-up. So this is J.C. Gaspar's collection with Spellbinders. So on the outside, I have my deck of cards. Not being a card player, I did look up what like a royal flush was. And there's a full house, I think, is another sentiment. So I knew what the cards were. So this is a royal flush. And I got that good old hand holding it again. And then when I open it up, I have another house of cards. This one's a little smaller. And I did something a little different with this one. It's still on the card base the same, but instead of a side folding card, which is what most of them are, and then we open this. So when we open it, we see it the long way. This is a top folding card. So when I open it up, the long way is along the top fold there. If I had opened this up like I did the Winnie the Pooh card, you can see it has a different orientation. This is like the skinny end versus the length of the House of Cards. So I did play with this again, and I needed to put my X in the middle instead of a box. I put the X, added on to the end, just put one on top because I had to be careful. I still wanted just a 5x7 card, but when I close this, you can see I'm pretty much edge to edge, and I don't want it outside of my card. So again, I only have 2 layers, and this is actually kind of a smaller house of cards than the other one. But I decorated it with some more of the dies from Jack of Trades. The Kaleidoscope Noble Suits is my little top decorative pieces here. I just attach them there to that first layer, and they all stay within the card base. For my suits, I used a couple different sets. So for the larger heart, club, spade, and diamond, those all come from the pip and rank. And same thing on the outside. So the ace, king, queen, jack, those are all from pip and rank. And the large heart is from pip and rank. And I wanted a smaller heart. And because I had a selection of dice I could choose from, I went ahead and pulled this small heart off of the House of Cards pop-up. So, oh no, I take that back. Hang on. Here, the game charms, excuse me. These little bitty ones came off the game charms. You can see how small these hearts are. And then this set with a House of Cards pop-up has even a little larger heart or whatever suit you're looking for. So on the inside, I used this one, the House of Cards, on these cards on the interior. And then the larger one, that larger club and heart, spade, all come from pip and rank. Now, if you only had, say, pip and rank, you could use this for everything. But again, because I had all these other dies, I thought I'm going to use them and I'm going to mix and match them. So that's what I did. And then for this piece in here, this flat piece, it's another Better Press plate from the collection. This is called Enchanting Suit Facets. There's 4 of them, good size. And because I can turn this around and look at it from every direction, I put one on each side of the card. And I just hand trimmed them out. There's not a die for them, but they're easy to just hand trim out. And then finally, for my sentiments, both on the outside and the inside, those come from Shuffling Sentiments. Again, they're Better Press, but if you're not into Better Press and maybe you're into Glimmer, you can glimmer these dies as well. So on the outside, sending you a full house of happiness. And then on the inside, I've got happy birthday and you're kind of a big deal. Also from this set. Now, let's say you don't have this, but you've got all the Karen Berniston dies. So I didn't use this, but I want to show it to you. Here's another option, the word set 17, congratulations. So you're kind of a big deal, or congratulations on your big day. So again, this one could be used in lieu of some of the Better Press sentiments. Just use what you have, pull out and check out what you've got. So I was very pleased with how this came out and to be able to figure out how to do it from a top folding card instead of a side folding card. Another thing that I love are these people from the Reversible Royal Court, again, part of the Jack of All Trades. So I pulled this out with a couple other Karen Berniston dies, and this might be perfect for Father's Day or for a masculine birthday. King for a Day. I love making these people and picking out my scraps to decorate their clothing. And I also have a queen bee. I could make her queen for a day as well. The word set 5 royalty from Karen Berniston is what I used for my king and queen sentiments here. So you could mix these up. You could make, it's good to be king. It's good to be queen. Queen for a day. There's a prince. So if I wanted to use Jack, I could do that. But this gives me some ways to kind of mix and match up my words depending on what my need is. And then I can make my king and queen heart. So again, maybe Mother's Day, feminine birthday, or Father's Day. I used that background for the king for a day is from the deluxe deck again. And I had all these made, so now I can just go and pull them out. The king is from the pip and rank, and the king and queen are both from the pip and rank. And this one I used the big heart on. This one is from the House of Cards here. So again, if I didn't have this, but I used the smaller House of Cards just because I had it. And this big one is from the pip and rank set. So again, mix and match, mix and match. What do you have that you can just change these up and do whatever you want with? So love these guys, easy to make them, and again, you can kind of personalize them, make them look like who you need to have them look like for your recipient. And one more card one. And this one is using a different Karen Berniston pop-up mechanism. This is her new one. So this time I used the triple platform pop-up. So on the outside, kind of what we've looked at before, and then I cut the cards out to use with this triple platform pop-up. Just for comparison, these cards are 2 inches by 3.5, I think 2 by 3. And I wanted to use this size card on this pop-up mechanism, but it was too big unless I wanted to make my card larger, and I wanted an A2 size card. So these cards are 1.5 by 2, I think. Oh, I should have measured those. but they're much smaller so that they would all fit inside my card base. And I started with the back card, and then I went around and just added them one by one with a mini glue dot to make sure everything would work. Once they closed and I didn't have any hang-ups, then I went down and glued the actual card down to the mechanism. So the triple platform pop-up is my mechanism. The other thing that I'm learning with this, for some reason I always put this down too low, and then my cards or whatever's on those pop-up pieces are so close to the bottom of my card. So again, this started off lower. And so then I'm like, okay, too low. I pulled it off. Well, of course, then I kind of have glue and sort of tore my paper. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll figure that out. That is why I have poker chips on here, to kind of cover up where I tore the paper. And that is from Karen's die. Let me see if I can find it here in the pile. The Game Charms. So I figured if you're playing poker, you'd have some poker chips. And then I just made one, open one here to write on. And then these two cards, I can't remember. I want to say this is Texas Hold'em maybe. Again, I had to look that up, where you have 5 cards laid out. And then every person gets 2 cards face down. So if you're a poker player, I apologize that I don't know the rules of the game, but barely enough to make the card. So I made these little cards, and I thought I want them to look like the back of the card. So I just laid this down, and you can kind of see my little blue spot here, and just laid my paper here in the center, and then just ran it through my machine just to give it like the back of the card. And I used the same one here for the front. This card is the same size as these, and this time everything is made with just the pip and rank, the numbers and the suits. I didn't go to put all those little bitty hearts on there, or other suits to match, just because the cards were so small to begin with. You could certainly do that, but I decided this worked. And then for my sentiments again, that's from the Shuffling Sentiments. They're all better pressed. But you may have some stamps that would work perfectly for a card like this. But again, I wanted to try a different mechanism to pop things up and mix and match all of the new dies and some of my old dies. Now, in honor of it finally warming up a little bit and spring hopefully not too far away, I wanted to make this card. And again, this is a new die from Spellbinders, but we came out of the frigid temperatures into at least the 50s. So here is the flower card. This is a new die from Spellbinders. This is going to be perfect for springtime cards and maybe Mother's Day cards. I can also think of some things if we don't put the flowers in here. So use your imagination. This time I did it with flowers, but I'm thinking, what else can I use this card for? And how can I change this card if I didn't want to make it a spring or summertime card? But it's beautiful and really put me in the mood for spring. It's actually very easy to make this. So there's a lot of dies for a lot of different opportunities to use this, but making the cart is fairly simple. And these flowers, I mean, they're all together in one die set. And then you have a couple separate dies if you want to cut individual flowers and put on there, but super simple to make that. And then the leaves are all just one piece. There's 3 different dies if you want to cut in a sentiment. So I used fresh flowers. There's also a gift for you and thanks so much. Or you could just leave that off and say maybe you have a stamp or another die, or just leave it plain, whatever you want to do. So this would be my base card. And then I went back and pulled out from the 2024 Advent Calendar some of the banner sentiments. So here's one I could just put up here on the top of the card that says, "Hello, friend." And here's another one, "Thanks so much." So that gives me some opportunities to use this card for multiple occasions. That, again, it was pretty easy to make. I could make a bunch of these up, not put any kind of sentiment on it. And then when I needed something for a certain occasion, say for Mother's Day, I could get the appropriate stamped sentiment or die cut sentiment and put it up here on the top, or just leave it off and put it on the inside of the card. But again, spring will get here sooner or later. I'm sure we're still going to have some more snow, so I'll leave this out to remind me of warmer days. So I hope that gives you some ideas, because again, we've seen so many new things, and now it's time to mix and match and just play, pull out stuff that we have in our stash, new or old, and just put it all together. That's the great part about being the end user of all of this. We get to do with it what we want. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again in a future video.